Hello, good morning everyone. This is Mageshwari, Assistant Professor, Department of English, KCS Kasinagar College of Arts and Science. Today, we are going to see word association and meaning, that is from semantics. Before getting into the semantics, we should know what do you mean by meaning. Actually, meaning plays an important role in knowing a language, in understanding a language. The meaning of a word that makes it a word in the language, which is very much useful for communication. And another thing we should know about the meaning, that the relationship between each words, as well as the relationship between words and phrases, and the last one, the relationship between words and sentences. And the another important thing which decides the meaning of a word, that how it is used in a context, which means how the word is used in a practical way, that we call it as pragmatic way of using the language. Now we are going to see the types of meaning. Actually, there are two types of meaning. One is conceptual and the other one is associative meaning. Conceptual meaning has got other name called denotative meaning. What do you mean by denotative meaning? Denotative, it is nothing but the literal use of the word. For example, when you take the word English, it means to say only English. It does not go beyond the word English. The literal usage of the word is simply meant as English alone. Now, let's see what do you mean by associative or connotative meaning. Connotative meaning, it's nothing but the different types of associations along with the already existing denotative meaning. That is, for example, when you take the word needle, actually, needle is an object. When you talk about needle, you can go for the connotation like thin, as well as sharpness of the needle and how it is made up of, otherwise by which it is made up of, that is steel. So there are the association which we can find with a concept called needle. Actually, needle is a concept. It means not only needle but also it means thin, sharp and steel. So till now we have got the basic information or knowledge about meanings. Why we have learnt about meanings when we talk about semantics? Because meaning is a basic of semantics. So semantics is nothing but the study of meanings, as well as how a speaker convey his own message, in what way he communicates his own ideas to the listener. So these are the two important aspects have to be given important while we talk about semantics. That is, semantics talks about study of meanings of words, phrases and sentences. And the other one, what a speaker conventionally means. Okay, when we talk about the study of meanings of words, otherwise phrases and sentences, we are having two types of semantics. One is lexical semantics. Lexical semantics, it talks about the relationship between words and its own meaning with other words. And the next one is phrasal or sentential semantics. Phrasal semantics talks about semantics of a phrase. That means the study of meaning of a phrase. And sentential semantic talks about semantics in a sentence, which means how a meaning is conveyed in a sentence. So generally, Phrasal or sentential semantics are larger than a word in its own structure. Otherwise, in a linguistic term, we call it as an syntactic. So, in a syntactic unit wise, phrasal or sentential semantics are larger than your own words. Now, let's move on what the speaker conventionally means. When the speaker means to say something, we can have two types of meaning. One is general meaning and another one is local meaning. Technically, we can call that as objective meaning or subjective meaning. Objective meaning, it is nothing but what the concept he is talking about. He does not have any intention behind the expression of the words. He has become very much objective in his own expression, which means he has got the detachment of himself from what he is expressing. And the next one is subjective meaning. Subjective meaning has little bit the intention of what the speaker speaks, which means the speaker includes his own viewpoint while he communicates himself along with the existing meaning. The interpretation of the speaker plays an important role in subjective meaning. So, on the whole, semantic talks about the study of meaning of words, phrases, and sentences, as well as what a speaker conventionally means. Semantic can be analyzed in three ways. That is, words which are used as the containers of meaning. We can call that as semantic feature. And the role they play, otherwise, they fulfill the role which is given to the words. We can call that as semantic roles. And the third one is relationship with other words, which means how one word is related to other word to convey the meaning. We can call that as an lexical relations. So these are the three things, that is semantic feature, semantic roles, and lexical relation are the three things which determine the analysis of any semantic of the syntax. Semantic features. Semantic feature talks about words which are the containers of meaning. Look at these two sentences. The Eiffel Tower studies linguistics. The table listens to the radio. Here, the grammatical construction of these two sentences are correct. That means the Eiffel Tower plays the role of a subject, verb is done by studies, and object is done by the word called linguistics. Okay? But when you look at the meaning, the Eiffel Tower, which is not a human being, definitely cannot study linguistics. Likewise, the table, which is a non living thing, cannot also listen to the radio. So, the syntactically correct sentence is, but it gives semantically odd meaning, which means though it is syntactically correct, semantically it's not at all correct. So this relates to the conceptual components of the words like Eiffel Tower and table, which is not a human being. Semantics of the language can be analyzed in three ways. The first one is semantic features that we have already seen, and the second one is semantic roles. Semantic roles, it's nothing but the roles which are fulfilled by the words of a given syntax. So generally we can say what are the roles which are fulfilled by the words in a given sentence of the given situation can be known as semantic roles. Okay. Now let's take the sentence called the boy kicked the ball. it has got the sentence pattern of SVO. The subject, that is the boy, he is the doer of the action. Otherwise, we can call that the person who performs the action. So, that means in a semantic way, the boy plays the role of an agent. Okay. And the next one is kicked. It's a verb. Otherwise, the action which is indicated over there. And the ball, which is patterned as object in this sentence, otherwise in this syntax. But when you go for the analytical aspect of the semantics, we can consider the ball is undergoing the action, otherwise on the ball the action is undergone. So which means the ball plays the role of theme over here. Generally, the noun phrases, we can call it as NP. Generally, the noun phrase of the sentence describe the role of entities. Entities, it is nothing but people or things who are involved in the action. So the NPs have certain semantic roles, which are as follow: agent, theme, experiencer, instrument, location, source, and goal. So we have seen the example for agent as well as a theme in the previous slide itself. So you might have known what do you mean by agent and what do you mean by theme. Agent talks about the performer of the action, otherwise the person who does the action. Theme talks about where the change is taking place, otherwise where the action is taken place. Experiencer, one who pursues something. A person who pursues, the person who experiences something is known as experiencer. Instrument, the instruments which are used to perform an action. So let's see let's see these things with example in the next slide. Location, from where the action happens. Source, from where the action is originated, otherwise what is the origin of the source. And goal, the place where the action is directed, otherwise we can put it in a simple way, the direction of the action is known as goal. Let's see the examples of semantic roles. So there are 7 semantic roles. One is agent, theme, experiencer, location, goal, instrument, and source. When you look at the words like Mary and George, they play different roles in different structure, in different syntax. Now look at the first one. Mary came from Los Angeles. So here Mary plays the role of an agent. Los Angeles plays the role of source, which means from Los Angeles. So the semantic role has been originated from Los Angeles. So it plays the roles of source. And look at the second sentence. Mary saw a butterfly on the wall. So here again we have used the noun, proper noun called Mary. In the previous sentence, Mary is used as an agent, but here we have used the same noun as an experiencer. Why? What is the difference in these two usages? In the first sentence, there is simply doing the work of an agent. But when you look at the second sentence, there is a perseverance, there is an experience which is experienced by the noun called Mary, so that from agent, the word Mary plays the role of experiencer. Okay? And Mary saw a butterfly. So, butterfly here it plays the role of theme on the wall. So, now the location is mentioned. So, the word called wall plays the role, otherwise, it plays the semantic role of location. Now, let's take these two sentences altogether. Mary handed the ball. back to George. Mary used George to get the work done. So here George is used both as goal as well as instrument. Mary handed the ball back to George, which means the ball is directed towards George. So the goal called George is receiving from Mary. So the word plays the role of goal here. Now let's go for the next sentence. Mary used George to get the work done. Here the word George plays the semantic role of instrument, which means Mary has got the help. Mary made use of George as an instrument to get her own work done. Hope you are clear. Semantic analysis can be done in three ways. One is semantic features and semantic roles, and the third one is lexical relations. And the first two things which we have already seen in the previous slides, now we are going to see what do you mean by lexical relations. So lexical relations explains meaning in terms of the relationship with other words, which means how one word is related to another word. Otherwise, what are the words which are contained in a single word itself. So these are the components of lexical relations. So the components of lexical relations are given under as synonymy, antonymy, hyponymy, prototype, homophones and homonyms, and polysemy. So these are the things which we can have under your own lexical relations. Under lexical relation, the first thing we are going to see synonymy. So synonymy, it's nothing but the words which have the same meanings or that are closely related in meaning. For example, let's take the word called answer. For the word answer, we can have synonymy of reply. For almost, we can have the word like nearly. And for the word buy, we can have the synonym of purchase. So here, synonymy does not talk about sameness, which means there is no total sameness in synonymy. Only one word would be appropriate in a sentence. However, it seems to be equal when you take it as a single word. But when you go for applying the concept, definitely a word cannot be equal, otherwise, a word cannot be the synonym of another word. Now, let's take the example called this one. For example, Sandy only had one answer correct on the test. So here we are going to see the synonym of the word called answer. So answer cannot be replaced with the sameness of reply. However, we have seen answer can be the synonym of reply, otherwise vice versa. But when you are applying the word in a concept, otherwise in a syntax, definitely both the terms cannot be equal to each other. Okay? Antonymy, it explains the words that are opposite in meaning under the broad umbrella called lexical relations. We can take the example like hot and cold. Hot and cold are opposite to each other. There are two types of antonyms. So one is gradable and another one is non-gradable. Gradable antonyms, it talks about the things of not at all absolute one, which has the question of degree. For example, you can take hot and cold again, as well as the small and big. And the next one we can see under antonym is non-gradable. That is the things which you cannot grade. For example, dead and alive or non-gradable antonym. Asleep and awake are non-gradable antonym. Next, we are going to see hyponymy. So, hyponymy talks about the words whose meanings are specific instances of a more general one. That is, one thing is related in another thing. Otherwise, we can call it one thing is included in another thing. For example, cats and dogs are hyphonyms of the word animal. So, animal is a general word, otherwise, a general thing. Under this one, we can have cats as well as dogs. So, in this case, cats and dogs are co-hyphonyms of the same category called animal. Next one is prototypes. Prototypes, it talks about the goodness of a general one. For example, there are so many things which are involved under a general category, and among so many things, one thing is given important, otherwise one particular aspect is given priority, otherwise taken predominant role. Okay, for example, when we talk about birds, when we talk about birds, we can bring it to our own mind the birds like penguin, otherwise the birds like dove, which means the things which are pleasant to see, pleasant to talk. We don't think about the birds like crow, otherwise we don't think about the birds like ostrich. So what do you mean by prototype? Prototype, it is nothing but giving important to the goodness of a general category. Okay, so take the given example, that is furniture. So there are so many types of furniture like sofa, otherwise your own chair, table, bench, desk, so many things. So when we think about furniture, the first thing comes to our own mind is chair. So however other things are there, we give important only to a particular thing. So chair is a prototype of the general category called furniture. Likewise, clothing. So here there are different types of clothing. So predominantly our mind thinks only about shirts rather than shoes. We don't give much importance to shoes, otherwise socks. However, it also belongs to the category called clothing. We give concern only to the things which have the outlook. Under lexical relation, now we are going to see homophones and homonyms. So these two things are confusing us from our own childhood. We are thinking that, most of us are thinking that homophones and homonyms are the same. We use homonyms for homophones and homophones for homonyms. So this is a general thing which we are doing. Now we are going to see what exactly it means. The first one is homonym. So homonym, it's nothing but a word which has two or more meaning, more different meaning, which is completely irrelevant to each other. Now let's take the word bank as an example. Bank may denote a bank of a river as well as the financial institution where we go and deposit, otherwise withdraw our own money. And next, you can take the example called a head. Head, it can denote the part of our own body as well as the head of the institution, like the principal of our own college. Now, the second one, homophone. So here we can have different words pronounced the same way but spelled in a different. So, different spelling but pronounced in a same way. So that we can call it as homophone. For example, take these three words, two, two, two. All the three words have different spelling but similar in its own pronunciation, as well as meat and meat. So it seems to be similar in its pronunciation, but spelling as well as meaning are completely different to each other.